Hi guys, this is Amelia and you're watching Food Eats. Today we're talking about the origins of pumpkin spice. Now, the pumpkin spice latte has become a cultural phenomenon. If you've seen any Starbucks around, you know that the pumpkin spice latte coming back in season is a huge deal. I believe that the reason why pumpkin spice is so popular is because it reminds us of pumpkin pie, and pumpkin pie is such a holiday staple that it's become a natural part of us thinking about the holidays. So using pumpkin spice and random things like toilet paper kind of reminds us of what the holidays are about. So how did this ordinary spice become the wonderful craze that we know today?
This is why we're so obsessed with pumpkin spice. The history of pumpkin spice starts with the history of pumpkins, which was about 7,000 years ago in present-day Mexico, where historians have found pumpkin seeds in thousands of places. Now, pumpkins were a very common vegetable, along with corn and beans, and with a little weather and trade, pumpkins found their way across the entire North and South Americas. For the same reason Mayans loved their pumpkins, the Native Americans started to grow them along with other kinds of vegetables. They would cut them in half and fill them in dishes. They would cut them into strips and mash them or make pastes. They would even use them for medicine and to make non-food items with.
These days, we rarely use pumpkin anymore. Other than pumpkin pie desserts or crazy pumpkin spiced dishes, we're really quick to forget that pumpkins are an important part of our history. And however, in early America, they were a very common vegetable that was used all the time, if not too much. Now you might be thinking, of course pumpkins are important. Hello, Thanksgiving. But pumpkin pie was only discovered during the 1800s. Pumpkin pie wasn't really a thing at all. Pumpkins were really used as a vegetable, so why were they so popular if they weren't in the classic American dish of...
The reason is because farmers didn't know how to grow anything in the New World. Pumpkins were a super easy thing to farm, and Native Americans were happy to teach them how to grow their own food. Pumpkins became not just a symbol of abolition, they also became a symbol of freedom. Supporting the anti-slavery movement meant supporting the American way of life. The values of America are rooted in the beliefs of those that encourage the freedom of others. Pumpkins have always been a part of that, and therefore they are rooted in American history. Pumpkins, and especially pumpkin pie, literally united this country together. Pumpkin pie has become an official symbol of freedom and Thanksgiving and protecting the American way of life since the beginning. Americans are just hardwired to love pumpkins and associate them with the cold, bitter seasons.
Now that we know more about pumpkins, it's very easy to see why pumpkins are so ingrained in our culture. If you didn't know already, pumpkin spice doesn't actually have pumpkin in it, but the smells of nutmeg, ginger, allspice, and cinnamon remind us of pumpkin pie or other dishes with pumpkin in it. So pumpkin pie seasoning came from our love of pumpkins.
In 1796, a woman named Amelia Simmons published a recipe for pumpkin pie in the American Cookery article, which included real pumpkin and a spice mixture of allspice, ginger, mace, and nutmeg. Her recipes quickly became a household favorite, especially during the Civil War with a whole bunch of pumpkins lying around. And associating pumpkin pie with this mixed spice mixture was a critical point in our history of pumpkin spice. It wasn't until the 1930s when a Washington Post finally published a pumpkin cake recipe with that mixed spice mixture of ginger, cinnamon, allspice, and nutmeg, with no pumpkin in the actual cake. This was the first official pumpkin spiced bread, and the recipe was so popular that the demand for this specific mixture of spices increased tenfold. Now in 2003, Pumpkin spice was already a signature ingredient in holiday cooking, especially with sweet things like cake and cookies and muffins. So the Starbucks pumpkin latte was born to meet that demand, and it immediately became the most popular holiday beverage to date. Now, the reason we have all of this crazy pumpkin spice themed stuff is because of that latte's popularity. Pumpkin spice became a trend, an identity, a lifestyle, and other food and even non-food industries were eager to create new fall-flavored snacks to earn some extra cash.
All right, so what did we learn today? Well, we learned that pumpkins were super important to not just the Native Americans, but to pilgrims and pretty much the history of early America. We learned about the history of pumpkin spice and why pumpkin-related dishes evolved into this new era of just adding pumpkin spice to make things seem seasonal. And with all of these things combined, it paints a beautiful picture of why we have pumpkin spice in the first place and why it's so nostalgic towards the holidays and just America and freedom in general that pumpkins have created for us.